Consider this. For a moment, everything you believe about time is a lie. You have been taught that life is a procession from birth to death, a journey through yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and you have accepted this without question. But I tell you, there is no such thing as time as you imagine it. There is only eternity, and your awareness of it is blocked by the clamor of your own consciousness. You are waiting for a better moment, a future salvation, a tomorrow of fulfillment. But fulfillment never comes tomorrow. Peace never arrives in the future. They are only ever realized now, in this instant, or not at all. The great barrier to your realization is this very stream of thought you call your mind, this endless commentary on a past that is gone and a future that is not yet. What if the very consciousness you cherish, this you, that is planning and fearing and remembering, is the only wall between you and the infinite? What happens when that noise ceases? Not in death, but in a profound, waking stillness. What is revealed when the mind is utterly silent and time, as you know it, stops? That is what we shall uncover here. We are going to look directly at this great impossibility, the ending of the personal sense of life. We will see what remains when the waves of thought subside and the ocean of being stands revealed. If your heart is yearning for something beyond the treadmill of days and years, then listen with your entire being. This is not for the intellect to dissect, but for the soul to hear. If this touches a truth within you, then make that truth active. Let your engagement be a sacred commitment to your own awakening. Subscribe to this channel as an act of devotion to this inward journey, and in the comments, affirm your readiness by speaking the number 777, a symbol of the perfection you already are. Awaiting discovery in the timeless now, consider then the profound and liberating shock of this realization. The timeline you live by is a mental construct, a story you have been telling yourself since your first memory. You consult the clock, you plan for tomorrow, you regret yesterday, and in doing so, you have built an entire identity upon a phantom. This is the illusion of linear time. It feels unquestionably real because your thoughts move in a line, one after the other, referencing what was and projecting what might be. But thought is not reality, it is a commentary on it. Your direct experience is always only now. The past is a memory trace firing in the present moment. The future is an anxious or hopeful imagination occurring now. You are forever standing in the only point of reality that exists this eternal instant. See how this illusion operates in your daily life, how it breeds the very suffering you seek to overcome. You sit down for a quiet moment, but your mind is not here. It is rehearsing a difficult conversation scheduled for tomorrow. You are, in effect, mentally living in a future that does not exist. And in that mental projection, you feel the anxiety, the tension, the dread as if it were real. You are suffering now over a phantom tomorrow. Or you look at a photograph and a wave of nostalgia washes over you. For a moment, you are mentally back there, and you feel the pang of loss. But where is that past? It is nowhere but in the thought, form you are entertaining now. You are suffering in the present over a ghost. This is the tyranny of the timeline. It robs you of the only reality you have, this present moment, by convincing you that reality is elsewhere, in a past you cannot change or a future you cannot control. This belief in time as a line is the foundation of all fear, all lack, all sense of separation. You fear death because you believe you are moving along a line toward an inevitable end. You feel lack because you believe your fulfillment lies at a future point on that line, when you get the promotion, find the partner, buy the house. You feel separate from God, from peace, from fulfillment, because you believe they are distant from you in time, to be earned or reached after a long journey of becoming. But what if the destination is not at the end of the line? What if it is at the very point where you stand, obscured only by your frantic focus on the line itself? Observe nature. The oak tree does not strive to become the oak tree. It is fully and completely the oak tree at this moment. Even as it grows, its being is not deferred. The rose blooms in its fullness now. The sun shines now. The entire universe exists in a state of complete presentness. Only the human mind, with its remarkable capacity for reflection and abstraction, creates the imaginary lines of then and when. We have mistaken the map for the territory. The clock and the calendar are useful social agreements for navigating the practical world, but we have made them metaphysical masters, believing they govern the reality of our being. They do not. The moment you catch yourself lost in worry about next week or aching for yesterday, you have already taken the first step out of the illusion. That very awareness is a spark of timeless presence breaking through. It happens in glimpses. You are washing the dishes, lost in thought, and suddenly you become aware of the feel of the warm water on your hands, the sight of the soap bubbles, the sound of the china clinking. For a few seconds, the mental commentary stops. There is just the experience. In that moment, time has ceased. There is no past or future dishwashing. There is only the pure activity itself. That is a moment of reality, unmediated by the story of time. Or you are walking, perhaps to your car or through a park, and instead of being lost in your plans, you suddenly see the light dappling through the leaves. You feel the air on your skin. You hear the chorus of sounds around you. The walking is not a means to an end, a movement from point A to point B in time. It is a complete and whole experience in itself. The burden of the timeline drops, and you are simply walking. These are not trivial moments. They are profound portals. They show you that life is not a journey to a distant goal, but a series of ever unfolding present moments. When you are fully present, the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future dissolve. What remains is a deep simplicity, an aliveness that requires no explanation from yesterday or promise from tomorrow. This is not an abstract philosophy to be debated. It is a concrete truth to be lived. The entire spiritual quest, then, is not about progressing along a timeline toward enlightenment. It is about waking up from the hypnosis of sequential time to the eternal now that you already inhabit. Your peace, your wholeness, your divine identity cannot be attained. They can only be recognized as the very ground of your present being. Once the noisy story of past and future is quieted, the ticking clock does not measure your life. It measures a concept that obscures your life. Your true life is the aware presence reading these words before the thought of what comes next even arises. So we come to the natural and inevitable question, if the peace we seek is here, now, why does it feel so distant, so veiled? What stands between us and that direct experience of fulfillment? The barrier is not out there in the circumstances of your life. It is the very instrument you are using to seek it, your own consciousness. Not consciousness as the silent, aware presence, but consciousness as the active, thinking, remembering, planning, worrying mind. This stream of thought is not you, it is an activity you host. Yet, you have become so identified with its endless narrative that you mistake its noise for your very self. This identification is the Great Wall. Watch it in operation. You sit in a room, physically safe, perhaps even comfortable. Yet, you are in agony. Why? Because your consciousness is replaying a sharp word from a colleague yesterday, or it is painting a vivid picture of a potential failure next month. The room here and now is peaceful, but you are not here. You are trapped in the phantom realms your consciousness is fabricating. The barrier is so total that you feel the emotions of those fabricated scenarios as acutely as if they were present reality. That is the power of the identification. The thought arises, I am in danger, or I am inadequate. And without a moment's pause, the entire organism, body, emotion, nervous system reacts as if this were an absolute truth. The thought comes, and you are lost in it, believing you are the character in its story. This consciousness in its habitual state is a problem-solving machine that has turned on itself. It scans for lack, for threat, for comparison, because that is its ancient survival function. But now it scans your memories and your imaginings. It compares your present to a polished past or an idealized future. It finds you wanting. It says, this moment is not enough because you are alone, or this moment is not enough because you haven't achieved X. The feeling of lack you experience is not a truth about your life. It is a product of this comparative, analytical mechanism. You are not lacking. The thought of lack is present. But you have fused with the thought, so you feel its ache as your own. Consider the most ordinary moments. You are drinking a cup of tea. For the first sip, there is just the warmth, the aroma, the flavor. Then, like a curtain dropping, the consciousness activates. I need to reply to that email. This reminds me of the tea we had on vacation. I should buy more of this blend. The direct, sensual experience of tea is overlaid, obscured, by a web of associations, memories, and plans. The tea is almost gone, and you barely tasted it. Where were you? You were lost in the consciousness commenting on the experience, rather than abiding in the experience itself. This is how life passes by second, commented upon, but not truly lived. This consciousness is also the creator of the separate, you. It thrives on duality, me versus you, now versus then, good versus bad. It cannot comprehend wholeness, because its very operation depends on division. When you look at a sunset for a fleeting second, there is just the breathtaking beauty, a moment of unity. Then the consciousness chimes in, how beautiful, or I wish I could capture this, or this is better than yesterday's. In that instant, the unity is shattered. The I has separated itself from the sunset to have an opinion about it. The feeling of being a separate observer, an isolated self inside a skull, looking out at a foreign world, is the central fabrication of this thinking mind. It is the ultimate barrier, for it blocks the realization of your inherent oneness with the source of all being. But here is the thrilling turning point. The barrier is made of your own substance. It is not a stone wall you must batter down with effort. It is a mist you are perceiving as a wall. You need not destroy consciousness. You need to see through itself, created authority. The moment you catch yourself lost in a reverie of anxiety, that catching is not itself part of the anxiety. It is a flash of a different kind of knowing, a pure awareness that stands prior to thought. That awareness is the key. It is what notices the thought stream without being swept away by it. Your practice is not to fight the thoughts, but to notice the space in which they arise. Notice the pause between thoughts. Notice the silence underneath the noise. In that noticing, your allegiance shifts ever so slightly from the content of consciousness to the aware presence that witnesses it. When you walk, feel the walking. When you listen, just listen. Do not let consciousness immediately label, categorize, and file the experience. Dare to have an experience without the internal commentator. In doing so, you begin to disidentify. The thought, I am angry, arises, and instead of becoming the anger, you can, with practice, silently note, there is anger. This simple shift in perspective creates a crack in the barrier. It allows you to see that you are not the storm of thoughts and emotions. You are the space in which the storm appears and disappears. This space is untouched, clear, and free. It is your true nature, and it has been here all along, waiting patiently behind the ceaseless activity of the mind you call your own. So where does this leave us, if not adrift in the stream of thought? If we are not the thinker, the planner, the anxious narrator, then what remains? We arrive at the heart of the mystery, the eternal now. This is not a new moment in time succeeding the last. It is the very ground of being upon which the illusion of time is projected. It is the ever-present, unchanging reality that is always here, regardless of the clock's tick or the mind's journey into yesterday or tomorrow. It is the still point at the center of the turning world, and it is your true dwelling place. You cannot find it by searching for it, for a search implies a future attainment. You can only become aware that you are already in it, that you have never left it. Every single experience of your life, no matter how mundane or profound, has happened in this eternal present. The first day of school the loss of a loved one, the taste of your morning coffee, all occurred in the same ever-present Arzer now. The content changes, but the context, the alive, aware field in which the content appears, does not. That context is the eternal now. It is the canvas upon which the pictures of past and future are painted by the mind. Your great task is to shift your attention from the pictures to the canvas itself. This is not a passive state of blankness. It is a dynamic, vibrant fullness. When you are fully present, the simplest actions take on a sacred depth. Look at your own hand. See it not as a tool you use, not as an object with a history of scars or a future of aging, but simply as it is in this moment, a miraculous arrangement of form, sensation, and life. See the play of light on the skin, feel the pulse of blood within it. In that direct, wordless looking, the story about the hand falls away and you meet the sheer is-ness of it. That is-ness is the eternal now manifesting as a hand. It is not separate from you. The awareness seeing it and the seen are both happening within this present reality. Think of those rare moments when the world seems to stop. A sudden, stunning view from a mountaintop that takes your breath away. For an instant, the internal chatter ceases. There is no me looking at a view. There is only the breathtaking itself, a unity of perception where the observer and the observed merge. In that gap, you have fallen out of time and into reality. Or recall a moment of intense focus, perhaps threading a needle, catching a ball, or playing a musical passage perfectly. The self-conscious I disappears, and there is just the flow of action. These are not escapes from life. They are immersions into life, as it truly is, unmediated by the interpreting mind. They are glimpses of the eternal now, where doing arises from being, not from thinking. The mind will protest, calling this impractical. How can I live if I am not planning for the future? But living in the now does not mean neglecting practicalities. It means doing them from a different place. Planning for a meeting becomes an activity done fully in the present, with clear attention, rather than a mental rehearsal filled with the anxiety of a phantom future. When you plan from the now, the plan is clearer, more intelligent, free from the distortions of fear. You act, but you are not lost in the action. You remain as the silent, aware presence behind the activity. The future-oriented action is performed, but your identity is not tethered to its outcome, for you abide in the timelessness from which the action springs. This is the great secret to ending suffering. All suffering is resistance to what is, and that resistance is always a function of the mind comparing the present moment to a memory or an ideal. The mind says, this should not be, and in that division, pain is born. But in the eternal now, there is no resistance, because there is no other to resist. There is only the suchness of this instant accepted in its totality. The pain may be present, the grief may be present, but the secondary layer of suffering, the story of my pain, the resentment of its presence, dissolves when you meet the sensation directly, without the narrative. You discover a profound peace that coexists with the changing conditions of life, a peace that is not of those conditions, but is the very space in which they occur. To touch this is to begin to live authentically. Your relationships transform when you meet another person not through the screen of your past experiences with them or your future expectations of them, but in the fresh immediacy of this moment. You listen to their words as if for the first time. You see their face as it is now, not as the image you hold. You meet being to being, not story to story. This is love, stripped of time. Your work becomes worship when you do it with your whole attention, not as a means to an end, but as an expression of presence itself. The eternal now is not a retreat from the world. It is the only way to fully inhabit the world without being crushed by it. It is the still, silent, and all-inclusive reality that patiently holds every fleeting thought, every passing joy, every temporary sorrow, and remains itself untouched, whole, and completely free. Then what is it, precisely, that must cease? If the eternal now is our home, what is the sound of the door closing? It is not the end of awareness, but the end of a specific activity within awareness, the ceasing of mental noise. This is the quieting of the relentless inner monologue, the stilling of the compulsive commentary, the fading of the persistent I story that overlays every experience. This noise is not your thinking, it is your unconscious thinking. It is the default hum of a mind left to its own devices, spinning tales of a separate self navigating a perilous world. Its cessation is the most natural event in the world, and yet to the identified mind, it feels like the greatest threat. This noise is what turns a simple sensation into a personal drama. You feel a tightness in your chest. The pure sensation is just a pattern of energy, a tightening, a pressure. But the mental noise instantly swoops in. It labels it anxiety. It personalizes it, my anxiety. It creates a story. This is because of that meeting tomorrow. I'm not prepared. What if I fail? In a flash, a neutral bodily sensation has become the starring actor in a personal saga of fear. The noise has transformed the direct experience into a psychological problem. The ceasing of this noise does not mean the sensation disappears. It means the catastrophic story about it falls away. You are left with the sensation itself, experienced directly, without the frightening narrative. And in that space, something remarkable often happens. The sensation, met with bare attention, changes, moves, and frequently dissolves, having been robbed of the mental fuel that amplified it. Notice this noise in the quiet moments you crave. You sit to meditate, to pray, to simply be. And what arises? A torrent of mental static. I need to buy groceries. Did I send that email? My knee hurts. This is boring. Am I doing this right? This is not a failure. It is a profound revelation. You are seeing the very mechanism that has been claiming to be you. You are witnessing the ceaseless chatter that has been masquerading as your identity. The practice is not to battle this noise into submission, but to observe it with a gentle, impersonal attention. In that observing, a subtle but critical shift occurs. You are no longer the chatter. You are the awareness of the chatter. And from this position of the witness, the noise begins to lose its authority. It is seen for what it is, a conditioned habit of the mind, not the truth of your being. You can find this in action throughout your day. You are waiting in a long line. Immediately, the noise begins. This is taking forever. I don't have time for this. Why are they so slow? The body tenses, the breath shortens. You are in a state of conflict with reality. Now, see if you can let the commentary stop. Not by force, but by simply turning your attention to the actual experience. Feel the weight of your body on your feet. Listen to the sounds around you without labeling them. See the colors and shapes in front of you. The situation has not changed, but everything has changed. The mental resistance, the noise of complaint has ceased. You are simply there, in the line, present. What was a friction becomes a kind of simple being. The noise was the source of the suffering, not the weight itself. This seizing is not a void, but a preparation for fullness. When the constant interpretation stops, reality can reach you directly, unfiltered. It is like the sediment in a glass of water settling. The water becomes clear, and you can see through it. Your mind becomes clear, and reality can be perceived as it is. A bird's song is no longer just a sound that reminds you of a summer past. It is a vibrant, intricate, present miracle. The face of a stranger is not instantly categorized and judged. It is a unique, living presence met in its suchness. Life ceases to be a series of concepts you navigate and becomes a direct, intimate encounter. Do not mistake this for becoming passive or dull. On the contrary, intelligence flourishes in this silence. When the noisy, reactive mind subsides, a deeper, intuitive intelligence can operate. You face a problem at work. Instead of the noise of frantic, circular worrying, there is a quiet space. And from that space, an insight may arise, clear, fresh, and unexpected. A creative idea may bubble up. A compassionate response to a loved one's pain may emerge, not from a calculated thought, but from the silent understanding that listens from presence itself. This is the intelligence of being, and it only speaks when the mental noise is still enough to hear it. The ceasing, therefore, is not an end, but a glorious beginning. It is the necessary prelude for a different kind of knowing, a different way of living, where life is not interpreted, but intimately, wordlessly, and wholly of known. And when that habitual noise subsides, even if only for a breath, what is it that stands revealed? What remains when the clamor of a separate self fades into silence? This is not a theoretical question. It is the most practical inquiry of your life. It points to the revelation of true being. This is not something you become, but something you discover you have always been, hidden in plain sight, beneath the traffic of thought. It is the fundamental, I am, before it gets dressed in the costumes of, I am a father, I am a failure, I am a seeker. It is the silent, aware presence that is reading these words, the very consciousness that illuminates every experience, yet itself is never experienced as an object. You touch this revelation in the gaps, in those instants when the self-conscious you, is absent. Recall a moment of sudden, unexpected beauty, a shaft of sunlight breaking through storm clouds. In the first breathtaking second, before the mind says, "How beautiful," there is just the breathtaking. In that pristine instant, there is no separate you looking at beauty. There is only the awe itself. Who or what is present in that awe? That is your true being. It is not the person having a reaction. It is the aware space in which the reaction and the sunset and the sense of wonder all arise. That aware space is impersonal, yet it is the very essence of what you call I. It is the screen upon which the movie of your personal life plays, but it is not a character in the movie. This revelation is the shocking, gentle understanding that you are the screen. See how the personal sense of self is an afterthought, a commentary added to pure experience. You accomplish a difficult task. For a moment, there is just the completed action, a felt sense of wholeness. Then, like a delayed echo, the thought arises, I did that. I am so capable. The I. Thought claims ownership of the experience. But the initial, wordless fulfillment belonged to no one. It simply was. Your true being was that fulfillment, not the later claim upon it. In disappointment, the mechanism is the same. A hope dissolves. There is a raw, pure sensation of emptiness. Then the story crashes in. I am devastated. This always happens to me. The true being is the aware presence holding even the emptiness. The personal I is the painful narrative about it. To realize this is to be freed from the tyranny of the narrative, while fully experiencing the raw material of life itself. This true being has no problems. It does not age. It does not fear. It does not lack. It is the still, unchanging witness to all that changes. You can sense it right now. Pause and ask yourself, am I aware? Do not think the answer. Simply feel the quality of awareness that receives the question. That knowingness, that simple sense. I am aware. Is it? It is not defined by what you are aware, Azolf, the room, a sound, a thought. It is the awareness itself. This is not an intellectual conclusion. It is a direct recognition, like suddenly knowing you are awake in the middle of a dream. Everything in the dream may be chaotic, but the fact of your being the awake dreamer changes everything in your daily life. This revelation transforms your relationship to everything. When a strong emotion like anger surges, the old pattern is to be angry, to shout, to justify, to act from the story of grievance. But with a glimpse of true being, something different becomes possible. You can feel the fiery energy of anger in the body. You can notice the furious thoughts, but you can also, simultaneously, be aware of the one who is noticing. You are the space for the anger, not the anger itself. From that space, a conscious response, or perhaps a conscious decision not to respond, can emerge rather than an unconscious reaction. The emotion is no longer the master of your house. It is a powerful, temporary visitor, and you are the house itself. This is also the end of seeking. All seeking is driven by the personal self-sense of lack, its desire to become better, holier, more enlightened. But true being is already whole, already complete. It is what remains when seeking stops. The frantic search for God, for peace, for love, was always a search for this, your own fundamental nature. The revelation is the shocking, gentle understanding that you are what you seek. The love you long to receive is the love you inherently are. The peace you hope to find in some future condition is the very fabric of your present awareness, when it is not disturbed by mental resistance. This does not make life perfect, but it places every imperfection within a context of profound and unshakable okayness. You begin to live from this deep, silent knowing, not as a person trying to fix a broken life, but as the boundless, aware presence within which the entire panorama of life, its joys and its sorrows, unfolds freely, luminously, and at home in itself at last. And how is this revelation to be sustained? Not through grim effort or arduous struggle, but through a most subtle and natural arti. Awakening through silent listening. This is not listening with the ears alone, but with your entire being. It is the act of turning attention away from the noise of thought and toward the silence from which thought arises. It is the sacred practice of hearing the world and yourself without the interpreter. In this profound listening, the mind grows still of its own accord, and what you truly are begins to echo back to you from the heart of existence itself. This silent listening is an act of surrender, not of conquest. You are not trying to achieve a state. You are letting go of the state of being a frantic listener to your own internal broadcast. Begin with the sounds around you right now. Do not name them. Do not judge them as pleasant or jarring. Simply let them be. The hum of electronics, the distant sound of traffic, the rhythm of your own breath. Listen to them as pure vibration, as patterns of energy arriving at the doorstep of your awareness. In this simple act, a miracle occurs. You, the separate listener, begin to dissolve into the listening itself. There is just the sound and the space of awareness that contains it. The mental division between my here and the sound out there softens and may even vanish. You are not hearing the world, you are the world hearing itself. Now, turn this same quality of listening inward. Listen to your thoughts, not as your own urgent commands or truths, but as sounds in the mind. Hear the next thought arise like a bird call, spontaneous, passing, impersonal. Do not follow it. Do not analyze it. Just listen to its appearance and its disappearance. This is the master key. When you listen to a thought with this detached, silent attention, you are no longer thinking the thought. You are witnessing it, and a thought witnessed loses its hypnotic power. The anxious thought about a future event, when listened to silently, is revealed as a mere whisper of fear, not a prophecy. The resentful memory, when heard as a passing mental sound, loses its emotional charge and becomes a ghost of a story. In this silent listening, you are performing surgery on the very mechanism of suffering without a single blade. Apply this to your most challenging interactions. Someone speaks to you in anger. The old, conditioned response is to immediately build a defensive fortress of your own thoughts. preparing your rebuttal while they are still talking. You are not listening, you are mentally rehearsing. Now, try silent listening. Let their words, their tone, their emotion wash over you. Listen not to the content alone, but to the pain or fear that may be speaking through them. Do not formulate a reply in your mind. Just be the silent, receptive space for their expression. You will find something extraordinary happens. First, your own reactive anger often fails to ignite because you have not fed it with internal commentary. Second, the person speaking often feels truly heard for the first time, and their energy shifts. And third, from that deep pool of silence within you, a response may arise that is intelligent, compassionate, and wholly unexpected by your conditioned mind. This is listening from being, not from personality. This practice turns every moment into a portal. The frustration in a traffic jam becomes an object for silent listening. You listen to the roar of engines, the tense feeling in your body, the impatient thoughts, all as phenomena appearing in the vastness of your awareness. The appreciation of a piece of music becomes a deep immersion where the boundary between the listener and the melody blurs. Even in silence, you listen to the silence itself. You attend to the profound quiet not as an absence, but as a living presence. You are listening to the sound of your own true nature, which is stillness itself. Do not believe this requires a special posture or a quiet room. It can be done now in the midst of any activity. As you read these words, can you also be aware of the silence between the words and the silence behind the words? That background silence is not empty. It is full, intelligent, and alive. It is the essence of your listening attention. To listen silently is to align yourself with that background, to become it. In doing so, you are not acquiring anything new. You are waking up to what has always been functioning as the very capacity to hear, to know, to be. The seeker finally stops seeking because the seeker realizes it is being sought by the silence in every sound, in every pause, in every heartbeat. The activity of life continues, but you are no longer the frantic actor on the stage. You have become the vast, silent theater itself, aware of the play, intimately one with it, yet utterly untouched by the drama, forever at peace in the majesty of your own boundless, listening presence.